What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and today we have Mark Hamill throwing a little shade, I think, at JJ Abrams, at Rian Johnson, for kind of what they did in the sequel trilogy and how they essentially wasted his character. And, Mark Hamill it's kind of an interesting case because, on one hand, he is a guy that is so beloved as Luke Skywalker and what he did for Star Wars. But then on social media also, you have him constantly talking about politics all the time, which is frustrating. But you can't deny that the man loves Star Wars. He loves his role in Star Wars, and he was done a disservice by this sequel trilogy. Not just to him as an actor, but obviously to his character, Luke Skywalker, who was effectively destroyed. So we saw him throwing a little bit of shade, and I personally hope that the further and further away we get from the sequel trilogy, the more people are going to start to talk about it, without the fear of retribution, in a way, from Disney and Lucasfilm. But here you go. Star Wars, Mark Hamill regrets that he couldn't work with more sequel trilogy actors. Mark Hamill expresses regret that he didn't get a chance to work with more actors in the sequel trilogy, as well as the late Peter Cushing. Mark Hamill regrets not getting to work with more actors. The actor best known for playing Luke Skywalker, and of course the definitive voice of the Joker, had a prominent role in Star Wars The Last Jedi and a cameo in Rise of Skywalker, but really didn't interact with any of the characters besides Rey and Kylo. Luke technically returned in the sequel trilogy at the end of Star Wars The Force Awakens, when Rey finds him living in exile on Ahch-To. The optimistic young Skywalker from the original trilogy had grown into a cantankerous old man by the time Rey returns his lightsaber, ashamed of what he feels to be his greatest failure, Kylo Ren. Although Luke and Rey have great scenes together as an eager student and a reluctant teacher, great used in quotation marks, or should have been, I'll make that correction here. She's really the only person Luke interacts with the majority of the time, although fans wanted Luke's death to be retconned so he could have more to do in The Rise of Skywalker. Luke only had a small, although epic, cameo as a Force ghost, catching his lightsaber when Rey attempts to burn it. It's Luke's only scene in the final film of the sequels, and was revealed later to have been a reshoot. Interesting. Well, of course, we did see him at the end, Joseph and Mary, with him and Carrie Fisher standing there as Force Ghosts, but he didn't say anything. And yeah, it's obviously this has been talked about forever, how Luke was just absolutely destroyed, how they brought him back for The Rise of Skywalker for this little cameo, basically for JJ to say F you to Rian Johnson and get that dialogue in there. A Jedi would never throw this away. And then we also got to see Colin Trevorrow and what Colin Trevorrow would have done with Luke Skywalker. And one of the reasons that Mark Hamill was so excited to be working with Colin, because he was actually going to have a role. He was actually going to have a part. He was going to be a huge part of this movie and what it meant. Do I think that movie would have been really that good? No, and I've said that a lot. But there's no doubt it would be better than The Rise of Skywalker. And we get to see a lot more of Luke Skywalker. And that, although I don't know once he becomes Jake Skywalker, if just more of him trying to be redeemed, I guess, as a Force ghost. I don't really know how it would have worked, if it would have paid off in any way, shape, or form. But I think that most reasonable people can read that and realize that the story that they were building, the world building that was involved, was far better than The Rise of Skywalker. When a fan asked Mark Hamill on Twitter which actor from Star Wars he wished Luke could have shared a screen with, Hamill posted a touching reply. Not only did Hamill start with the late and great Peter Cushing, who played Grand Moff Tarkin, but he basically said everyone else from the films, calling out the sequel trilogy actors in particular. And again, I do think that Mark Hamill, said basically everyone. I wish I could have done more with everyone. But then he added this sequel trilogy thing on the end as a definite shot, in my mind, towards JJ and Ryan. And you can see the tweet right here. From Peter Cushing on, every single one of them. Imagine the fantastic sequel trilogy actors and only working with two of them. Can you imagine? Luke Skywalker, the hero of Star Wars, the person who, so many people pretended to be as kids, who bought a crappy lightsaber from Walmart and played outside with their brother. Luke Skywalker, who so many people, it was their hero. Whoever you were, if you were a little boy, if you were a little girl, everybody looked up to Luke Skywalker. And imagine having the ability to use one of the greatest heroes of all time and barely putting him in the movie and destroying his character. That's basically what Mark Hamill is saying with this tweet, in my mind. Although it's never a possibility in any major film for a main character to interact with every single other main character, pacing and plot issues would wreak havoc on the film's quality. Luke's limited interactions with other characters in the sequels is a wasted opportunity. While it was wise for the present films to focus on new characters and not hinge entirely on nostalgia factor to bring audiences in, yeah, it would have been spectacular to see Luke interacting with Finn and Poe, or to see more scenes of him training a young Kylo Ren, among many other possibilities. There's also the lack of connection between the three films, and Luke's sacrifice at the end of Star Wars The Last Jedi was barely acknowledged in The Rise of Skywalker. What would have been great is if Luke's death had inspired the Resistance fleet that came in to rescue in the final film's epic battle. Mark Hamill is a fantastic actor who has done an incredible job portraying the legendary Luke Skywalker over the years. While the sequel trilogy did a great job of introducing a fine cast of new characters and shining a spotlight on old familiar fan favorites, there was so much missed potential just from Luke's lack of character interactions alone. However, this is Star Wars after all, and if there's any place that Luke Skywalker can return, it's to a galaxy far, far away. But he can't, though. They shut the door on that because we heard all these insider things from Colin Trevorrow. What he wanted to do once Carrie died. Once Carrie Fisher died and Leia was no longer really going to be able to be a part, he wanted to bring Luke even more into the fold. Maybe even bring Luke Skywalker back. And he got pushed back from Lucasfilm, and eventually he was canned. He was let go. And we get JJ Abrams back in there to get The Rise of Skywalker, which, as we can see now from the from what the budget was, from what they had to spend in advertising, from the disinterest in the box office, the fact that now things that were released weeks before are now outpacing, outperforming The Rise of Skywalker as theaters continue to drop it. It's just amazing how much this thing really has leveled off. It barely crept over $1 billion, basically. You know, something that we didn't... You know, me personally, I always said I thought it was going to make between 1.1 and 1.2. There's still a chance it gets to 1.1 if they leave it in there long enough. You know, it'd take a long time, but maybe it could happen. But I think very few people realistically expected for it to do this poorly with the Disney marketing machine. But Mark Hamill, I feel like he was definitely throwing shade at the directors of the sequel trilogy and at Lucasfilm in general for wasting his character. This is a guy, you've seen it if you've watched Mahler's Last Jedi reviews and all the clips that he puts together of Mark Hamill really being hurt by the fact, like, what they did to his character. And he's someone who is going to give the best performance he can no matter what. And we saw that from him. And, you know, for a couple days there, he was telling everybody exactly how he felt until someone came and had to get him in line and get him to toe the Disney company line and say, hey, Mark, you can't talk like that. You can't do that. You have to be okay with this. You have to put on a good face for the company, Mark Hamill. So it's a shame what they did to Luke Skywalker, what Mark Hamill had to go through. Like I said, I don't agree with a lot of what Mark thinks when he's not talking about Star Wars on Twitter. Unfortunately, maybe the way he goes about it. But I do definitely feel for the guy as someone whose career has been defined in two ways. One of them as Luke Skywalker, and another as a voice actor as the Joker. And for the on-screen version of Mark Hamill, everyone identifies him immediately with Luke Skywalker, and it will always be that way. It will never not be that way. So for him to go through this and have his character wasted and destroyed, it's got to be really tough. And you can see him throwing it back at them a little bit, just a little jab to let people know that, yeah, it would have been nice if Luke Skywalker, the hero of Star Wars, maybe had a bigger part. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video out there, ring the bell for all notifications, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.